I didn't hear anything. There we
There
go.
it is.
Woohoo!
Good morning. The Unitarian Church of Montpelier is located on western Abenaki land, which has long served as a site of meeting and exchange among indigenous peoples. The Unitarian Church of Montpelier honors, recognizes, and respects these people as the traditional and ongoing stewards of the lands and waters on which we gather. In that same spirit, we will respect, protect, and be good stewards of this land for as long as we walk upon it. My name is Tom Shurston, and as today's worship associate, I extend to you a warm welcome. Thank you for joining us in this time of worship from wherever you are. Whether you are on Zoom, on Facebook, or watching on your own time, we deeply appreciate your presence and fellowship. Montpelier is a Unitarian Universalist congregation founded in 1864. We are a religious community that welcomes all as we journey together, seeking spiritual wholeness and justice in this world that we live in. Whether you are a newcomer, a longtime member, or somewhere in between, you are part of our community and we are glad you are here. If you are joining us on Zoom, the chat function will be on for much of the service. It is a great way to publicly welcome and support one another, to affirm the hard work and effort of our worship team, and to share the good vibes and positive thoughts with each other. For technical issues or constructive thoughts, please private message one of our Zoom hosts, indicated by an asterisk by their names, or join us for coffee hour after this service to share them there. Thank you to our virtual greeters who are offering hospitality and tech help throughout the service. Additionally, on Zoom, click on the live transcript button wherever it lives on your screen for increased accessibility. I invite you now to take a moment to turn your video on and go into gallery view on your Zoom screen. Let us greet our neighbors and a wave hello and a warm smile. Again, a warm welcome to each and every one of you. I have a few brief announcements about the life of our congregation. First, a reminder that Director of Lifespan Spiritual Exploration, Liza Earl Centers, is on leave through the end of February. You can find out more on the staff page of our website. Secondly, we are in need of more volunteers to help with our Thursday evening meals program. Please read the e-news to learn more about the program and how to sign up to offer your time. Finally, please read the weekly newsletter to learn more about the many upcoming events in our church community. And now, let us enter more deeply into our time of worship with our prelude.
We arrive out of the chaos and clamor of our days into this shared time of connection and contemplation. We arrive with questions looming large, with problems unresolved, with winter delight beckoning our beleaguered spirits. Together this morning, we reach out beyond the confines of our separate lives to know that we do not journey alone, but that we journey together. In this community, we make space for the mind, the heart, and the soul in whatever condition they may be. Let us worship together this morning, holding tenderly our questions and our doubts, holding mindfully our intentions and our yearnings. Come, let us worship together. And let us now join in our opening hymn, Meditation on Breathing, led by acting music director, Danya Prince.
When I breathe in peace. When I breathe out love. When I breathe in peace. When I breathe out love. Breathe in, breathe out, breathe in, breathe out.
Let us now light the chalice, symbol of our Unitarian faith. I invite you to light a chalice at home if you have one nearby. We light this flame, enduring symbol of our collective commitment to lead with truth and compassion. Please join me now in saying our congregational covenant. We covenant to speak honestly and listen deeply to each other and the voices within. Treat each other with compassion and honor our differences. Take responsibility for the impact our words, actions, and inactions have on each other. Support each other in times of need and of grief, and celebrate the beauty and joy in our lives. Honor the gifts of the past, be gentle with each other as we grow. Encourage each other in the brave work of creating a more beloved community and a healthy, sustainable world. And forgive each other and start again.
Today, I have a time for all ages to share with you. And so if there are any children tuning in, maybe even in another room, I welcome you to come and listen in for our time for all ages. And it has to do with the theme of the month, which is living with intention. And I brought in a box to help me with the time for all ages. It's right here. Let's see what I have here in this box. Got a small plant. I have a magnifying glass. I have a tea bag. And what else? Got these 3 cards. I'll talk more about these in a moment. The beginning of the new year, which is where we are in our season of life, is a time when many people pause, take stock of the year that has just passed, and reflect on their hopes for the year ahead. Some people create New Year's resolutions and set a goal to accomplish in the next year. Have any of you out there set a New Year's resolution for this year, or maybe even or set one in the past, familiar with this practice? I'm seeing a few hands in the Zoom gallery. Often these resolutions focus on an area of life that someone may want to change or fix in some way. Often these resolutions can be motivating. They can lead to positive changes in people's lives. But sometimes these resolutions can be hard to keep or might make us feel badly about ourselves if we're not able to accomplish those goals. More and more people I've heard are trying a different kind of New Year's practice, shifting away from setting resolutions and more towards setting intentions. And I think there's a lot of wonderful possibility with this practice. Living with intention, our theme for this month of January, is about being thoughtful in our actions, being thoughtful about how we treat ourselves, how we treat other people, how we treat other living beings, and how we treat the planet. Having an intention can shift the focus from the problems that we might see and more towards an affirmation of the ways that you want to live and the choices that you want to make that affect yourself and also those around you. And all of us, whether you're 18 or 80, can live with intention. Your intention can be expressed in just one word, or maybe even an object or symbol of some kind. So this small plant came from the windowsill in my home office. And it was a shoot from a larger plant that I repotted in the small glass jar. And you might not be able to tell from out there in Zoom land, but it's got some browning leaves and it's really in need of some tending and care to really thrive. So this plant reminds me of my intention to be nurturing. In my Wonder Box, I also had this tea bag, and this tea bag says Echinacea Immune Support. And this tea bag reminds me of my intention to care for myself and to support my own health and well-being. Let's see. So there was also this magnifying glass that was in my Wonder Box. And what kind of intention do you think this magnifying glass might express? For me, it's a reminder of my intention to look closely beneath the surface at things and at situations, because there's often more to notice and to observe than we might think. And I also have these 3 cards, and each card has a nature mandala on it and also a word. These mandalas were created by a local artist, Michelle Wallace. Some of you might be familiar with her work. And let's see, these 3 cards have the words together, reconnect, and the word peace. Each of these words could be a really nice intention for the year. So as we begin this new year, you might reflect on any intentions you might have. How do you want to treat yourself, others, and the world around you? And you might want to dedicate some time talking as a family or talking with a friend about your intentions as we begin a new year. If there is a word that comes to mind right now for you that expresses an intention you have as we start the year 2022, you're welcome to share that word in the Zoom chat or in the Facebook comments. I'd love to be inspired by your intentions this year. And now we will hear more about our community pouch recipients for the month of January, which have been selected by our UCM Racial Justice Group.
Good morning. My name is Mary Jane Olson, and I'm here to share with you the decision that the Racial Justice Group, of which I'm a proud member, have chosen for the January pouch recipients. The first one is the Vermont Relief Collective, and this is a network by and for Black, Indigenous, people of color in Vermont who are passionate about land, environment, agriculture, and food systems. RELIEF stands for Racial Equity in Land, Environment, Agriculture, and Food, are four focus areas. And it was launched in 2020 and has already proven to be a statewide leader in the four focus areas above, growing strongly as a community with over 210 plus members in 13 of 14 counties. RELIEF has emerged as a critical resource for BIPOC in Vermont to build community and co-create a vision and strategy to support BIPOC to thrive in our state. The second organization is Salon Black Walnut, which is a culture-building invitational residency that draws BIPOC artists from region to perform collaborative, share, and create in Central Vermont artist residencies, which culminate in Nama Farm Nights of Arts and Culture, which includes farmhouse suppers by Farmer Alma with multi-medium BIPOC creators and Vermont community members of all ages. Farmer Alma is a poet, farmer, organizer, and founder of Salon Black Walnut. She is also a channel for direct reparations in Central Vermont and the region. She creates Nama's farmhouse preserves. She hosts community canning parties and is a Cooperative Gardens Commissioner for Vermont. Thank you for your attention, and I encourage you to find out more about these two organizations, and in any way you can support them, that would be very appreciated. Thank you.
Our generosity is a form of love and gratitude. Our gifts, freely given, help us to practice Unitarian Universalism within and beyond our congregation. Each month through the UCM Community Pouch program, we share part of our collection with an important church fund or a community organization aligned with our values. During the month of January, our community pouch recipients are the Vermont Relief Collective and Salon Black Walnut, as selected by the UCM Racial Justice Group. Your contribution to the UCM Community Pouch this month will directly support this work. You can make a financial contribution today by donating online. Go to ucmvt.org and click Donate to UCM. There are options to contribute to the general fund, which supports the general operating budget of the church, the community pouch, or both. You can also mail a check to the church, or you can use our text to give option. Simply text a text message with the word give to 802-266-4848 and follow the instructions sent to you. Again, that number is 802-266-4848. We are so grateful to each and every one of you for your generosity in its many forms. While the offering is being given and gratefully received, please enjoy a musical offering introduced by Danya Prince.
Hi. If you attended our Christmas Eve service, you might have noticed that due to a technical glitch, the prelude was never heard. But it's just too lovely to remain that way, so we are offering it to you this morning. Schubert's Ave Maria, played by cellist Bob Blaze and Eliza.
Thank you so much, Bob and Eliza, for that beautiful musical offering. Thank you to our tech team and Danya for recording and producing the video. And I invite you now to join me in a time of meditation and prayer. Allow yourself these few moments to quiet your body and your mind. Allow yourself these few moments of ease where nothing is expected of you than to be present with this breath and with the next. In these quiet moments, I invite you to become attuned to your heart, to the quality of your spirit, to notice the heaviness or the lightness, to be with the happiness or the sorrow, to offer yourself compassion for whatever may be present this morning. If you have a joy or a concern that is present on your heart that you'd like to share with the community, you are welcome to write that into the Zoom chat or Facebook comments. I will not be reading these aloud, but you can offer each other words of support in the chat. Susan Baker, today's lay pastoral caregiver, is available this morning to lend a listening ear of care. Her phone number is shared in the chat and is also available in the church directory. You can give Susan a call after the service if you are in need of pastoral support today. And we hold with compassion all of the joys and sorrows of our lives, the people we know who are ill or dying or that we have recently lost, the worries that we hold for our community, our nation and world, and also the many sources of gratitude that we can name and that ease the burdens of our hearts. I invite you to enter more deeply into this time of meditation, perhaps by closing your eyes, maybe lying down if that is what your body needs in this moment. Allow whatever tension you might be feeling in your face or your jaw, your shoulders, your back, your legs. Allow that tension to release. Nothing is being asked of you in this moment. Nothing is expected but your presence. And your presence is more than enough. With all that feels upended, may you know the steadiness of your breath. With all that feels heavy, may you know the lightness of your own spirit. With all that feels unresolved, may you know the peace of letting go. Breathing in peace and breathing out love. Breathing in peace and breathing out love. Breathing in and breathing out. I have two readings to share with you this morning. The first is by the poet Stanley Kunitz. Kunitz died at the age of 100 in the year 2006. He wrote the following poem in his 70s after he had endured the loss of several of his dear friends. He says that when he wrote the poem, he felt he was near the end of a phase in his life and his work. Two lines of the poem came to him in a dream. Live in the layers, not on the litter. The Layers by Stanley Kunitz. I have walked through many lives, some of them my own, and I am not who I was, though some principle of being abides, from which I struggle not to stray. When I look behind, as I am compelled to look before I can gather strength to proceed on my journey, I see the milestones dwindling toward the horizon and the slow fires trailing from the abandoned campsites over which scavenger angels wheel on heavy wings. Oh, I have made myself a tribe out of my true affections, and my tribe is scattered. How shall the heart be reconciled to its feast of losses? In a rising wind, the manic dust of my friends, those who fell along the way, bitterly stings my face. Yet I turn, exulting somewhat, with my will intact to go wherever I need to go, and every stone on the road precious to me. In my darkest night, when the moon was covered and I roamed through wreckage, a nimbus clouded voice directed me. Live in the layers, not on the litter. Though I lack the art to decipher it, no doubt the next chapter in my book of transformations is already written. I am not done with my changes. And the second reading is by John Gardner, founder of the citizen advocacy group Common Cause and author of the book on leadership. He says, meaning is not something you stumble across like the answer to a riddle or the prize in a treasure hunt. Meaning is something you build into your life. You build it out of your own past, out of your affections and loyalties, out of the experience of humankind as it is passed on to you, out of your own talent and understanding, out of the things you believe in, out of the things and people you love, out of the values for which you are willing to sacrifice something. The ingredients are there. You are the only one who can put them together into that unique pattern that will be your life. Let it be a life that has dignity and meaning for you. If it does, then the particular balance of success or failure is of less account. During the summer of 2010, I was living in Chicago and working at an area hospital as a chaplain in training. As I was working in a hospital, matters of life and death were all around me and were at the heart of the issues, both medical and spiritual, faced by the patients who I talked to each day. Any of us who have experienced the death of a loved one or faced our own mortality up close knows how clearly and sharply death can put life into focus. This happened for me in a surprising way that summer not just in talking with patients in the hospital rooms where I was a chaplain, but also in my own family. I was spending the summer in my uncle's apartment, just a few blocks away from my parents' home, the home that I grew up in. And one evening I received a panicked call from my mother. My father, who had been having some minor health issues, had become extremely weak and disoriented, and my mother had called 911. My now husband, Jared, and I arrived at their home just after the EMTs, and my mother was upset and worried. My father was still confused. I rode with him in the ambulance for the short trip to the local hospital, which thankfully was just a few blocks away. And I had felt the mortality of loved ones before. Two of my aunts and my grandfather had all struggled with cancer and then died within a couple of years of one another, not long before that. But that evening, facing the fragility and mortality of my own father felt different. And I could tell that both he and my mother were frightened. Thankfully, after running some tests and keeping him overnight, the medical staff determined that they needed to make some adjustments to his medication and he would be fine. That episode, coupled with my time as a hospital chaplain that summer, brought some key things into focus in my life. As a discerning seminary student who had not yet decided upon a set path for my ministry, it made clearer my calling to serve in a pastoral role that would keep me close to these fundamental issues of life and death, to life's ultimate concerns. And this was the first step to me traveling down the path towards ordination as a minister. This experience of facing the fragility of life and the closeness of death also brought into focus my relationship with my partner. Our relationship was already very serious at that point, and the steadfastness and compassion with which he made himself present to my family in this time of need sealed the deal. We were engaged just a couple months later. After this summer of being brought closer to death, I was able to live my life with more intention. I found myself approaching the key questions of life even more consciously and thoughtfully. Our worship theme for this month of January is living with intention. And it's no coincidence that this theme lines up with the start of a new year. In the new year, we often pause, make some assessment of our lives. We think about how we might begin again and make adjustments to more fully and more intentionally align our values and our wishes for ourselves and for others. And this isn't just about making resolutions to impossible self-improvement schemes. Living with intention requires an awareness, a thoughtfulness, and a humility about our lives and our place in the great scheme of it all. Often it is coming to grips with the realities of aging and the finitude of our lives that can bring the clarity that is at the heart of our intention. As John Gardner says, meaning is something you build into your life. You build it out of your own past, out of your affections and loyalties, out of the experience of humankind as it is passed on to you, out of your own talent and understanding, out of the things you believe in, out of the things and people you love, out of the values for which you are willing to sacrifice something. Life gives us the possibility of creating and finding meaning. As we grow older, of course, there is even more material to work with. In the 11 plus years since that hospital visit, I have become a mother. My parents have become grandparents. We have lost my spouse's father, as well as a baby to be early in pregnancy. The layers of my own life have built upon one another, as happens with the passing of time, and with it, building blocks of meaning have emerged. In his book of poems, Growing All the Way to Our Grave, Conscious Aging and Mindful Dying, Tom Owen Toole puts it this way: welcome to our fate, full-time sculptors of meaning from start to finish. Indeed, from start to finish and everywhere in between, we sculpt meaning of the minutes, the hours, the days, and the years of our lives. Often, this time is filled with experiences and relationships that add richness and depth to our lives, intimate friendships, parenthood, grandparenthood, mentorship. Sometimes the events of life can seem senseless. The death of a child, an accident that causes lifelong disability. There are events that make us ask, why me? An unexpected cancer diagnosis, a house fire that leaves your life in shambles. And there are experiences that inspire lifelong passions and convictions. I would dare say that the times that we are living through now are full of such opportunities for meaning making. Thankfully, we have many guides and spiritual companions among us. One of them whose life I want to lift up today was Archbishop Desmond Tutu, who, as the year 2021 drew to a close, took his final breaths at the age of 90. Archbishop Tutu led a remarkable and consequential life, most notably as an advocate for the end of the policy of apartheid in his country, South Africa, as a leader of the truth and reconciliation process, and as a constant advocate for racial justice and equality. Well before he was an Anglican archbishop, Desmond Tutu was a young boy living in the town of Klerksdorp outside Johannesburg. And this story from his childhood illustrates how Archbishop Tutu was a sculptor of meaning from start to finish. One day, Desmond was riding his brand new bicycle in his neighborhood when he encountered a gang of boys, and they harassed him. They called him a terrible name, a racial slur. In his recounting of the story, he doesn't say what the word was, but we could imagine. And of course, Desmond was very upset by this. He went to a local priest who was a mentor of his, Father Trevor, to tell him about this incident. He shared how angry he was and how he wanted to get revenge on these boys. Father Trevor asked him if he thought he would ever forgive these boys, and he said, never. Then Father Trevor gently told Desmond that this was the problem. You will get them back, and then they will get you back, and soon our whole world will be filled with nothing but getting back, he said. Desmond thought about this. He encountered the boys again the next day, and he was full of fury. He was on his bicycle, and he pedaled fast and hard through the group, and he yelled his own angry words at them. Afterward, he didn't feel any better. In fact, he felt worse. And a few days later, he came across one of the boys from the group who was outside of his house with his brothers. And the brothers were teasing and fighting with the boy. Desmond felt sorry for him. When he encountered the boy again at the market a few days later, Desmond's heart had softened. The boy was standing alone and Desmond approached him. "I'm sorry for what I said," he blurted out. The boy began to stammer, "I guess well." Now, Father Trevor had told Desmond that you didn't have to wait until someone says sorry to forgive them. Instead, we have the power to forgive whenever we are ready. And Desmond remembered this, and he said to the boy, "I forgive you." We know that Archbishop Desmond Tutu would go on to become a leading figure in the truth and reconciliation process in South Africa in the 1990s. He was a promoter of reconciliation with forgiveness at the heart of his theology and ethics. This event in his childhood planted a seed of intention and meaning in Desmond Tutu's life that grew and blossomed in world-altering ways. On the day of his funeral, I was surprised to learn of the Archbishop's final wishes. The first was for his body to be placed in a simple pine casket. The images of his wake and funeral show the small, for he was not a tall man, unvarnished box lying beneath the towering ceiling of St. George's Cathedral in Cape Town. For a person of such moral stature, the image of his humble casket was breathtaking. Archbishop Tutu did not want an ostentatious funeral, and it was indeed an understated affair, with only one speech in addition to a sermon, limited military presence, and only 100 people in attendance due to the pandemic. His other final wish was for his burial remains to be created through a process called aquamation. In aquamation, the body is submerged in a mixture of water and alkali, which then breaks down all of the tissues of the body until just the bones remain. And then the bones are processed into a fine dust. In addition to being an advocate for equality and a healer of the wounds of racial division, Archbishop Tutu was a dedicated environmentalist. Aquamation is 90% more energy efficient than traditional cremation and uses no fossil fuels. Archbishop Tutu demonstrated throughout his life an intentionality in his actions and his way of being in the world, right up through the final moments of his bodily presence on earth. As is true for all of us, Archbishop Tutu was shaped by the many layers of his life over the years, the life experiences, relationships, suffering, losses, and joys that made his life what it was. When we look back on our lives, from whatever age or stage that may be, we may find a cohesive pattern, a direct path of meaning and purpose from birth to death. More likely, we look back like Stanley Kunitz in his poem, The Layers, and we see the many lives we have lived and the milestones fading into the horizon. And yet, we are not done with our changes. Even now, this is our fate, to sculpt meaning with the layers until it is done. I invite you now to join in our closing hymn, for all that is our life.
For all that is our life, we sing our thanks and praise. For all life is a gift, which we are called to use to build the common good and make our own days glad. For needs which others serve, for services we give, for work and its rewards, for hours of rest and love, we come with praise and thanks. For all that is our life, for sorrow we must bear, for failures, pain, and loss, for each new thing we learn, for fearful hours that pass, we come with praise and thanks. For all that is our life, for all that is our life, we sing our thanks and praise. For all life is a gift, which we are called to use to build the common good and make our own days glad.
As we draw our service to a close, we extinguish the chalice and carry within each of us its healing flame, the warmth of community and the spark of hope into the days and the week ahead. As we do so, let us join in saying our mission statement of the Unitarian Church of Montpelier. We welcome all as we build a loving community to nurture each person's spiritual journey, serve human need, and protect the earth, our home. The poet Nina Riggs wrote the book, The Bright Hour, a memoir of living and dying, as she lived through and then died from breast cancer in her late 30s. These closing words are from her memoir. We are breathless, but we love the days. They are promises. They are the only way to walk from one night to the other. May you love the promise of each new day and approach every one with intention. May you go in peace and return again in love. As we close our time of worship, I invite you to go into gallery view once again. Turn your video on if it's off, to reach out in thanks for one another, for this community, for the abundant love that holds us all.